It is Italy's cathedral of speed. The Autodromo Nazionale di Monza is where the Tifosi come to worship. There are two national religions in Italy, Catholicism and Ferrari. And here, Ferrari return triumphant, having won Le Mans just under a month ago to their home race. First action before we decide who's going to start at the front of the field will be with our GT Am competitors. Then our LMP2 cars will go out, and finally the Hypercars. And it is here that the drivers will try and produce the very best that their cars can find in these scorching conditions here in Monza. Hello everybody, Martin Haven with me in the booth, world champion Ant Davidson and Graham Goodwin down in pit lane where apparently it's mildly warm. Is Louise Beckett. She'll be bringing us up to speed on all that happens. And Ant, for the drivers in each of the three categories, this is a real opportunity to start as an individual, and that's so unusual in this form of racing.
It is, and coming off the back of Le Mans as well, obviously we had the mixed categories until the Hyperpole, at least. We're back to normal situations under qualifying conditions here in WEC, and I actually prefer it. It's a more pure way to go qualifying. There should be less traffic out on circuit. All of the bronze drivers in GT Am have to go out and qualify. Here we are at round 5, like you say, Martin, the temple of speed in Monza. We're 6 hours.
The downhill run towards the end of the season, the home stretch, only another 20 hours of racing still to go. No, it's only an entire Formula One season remains ahead of us. 6 hours here in Monza, 6 hours in Fuji, and then 8 hours in the heat of Bahrain. So this will be good preparation for that. Look, 31 degrees air temperature, 50 degrees track temperature. That's the highest track temperature cars have seen so far this weekend. Yesterday afternoon about this time, it was in the low 30s. This morning, 39. It's only going to get hotter, and that will be a factor in the race as well. Tyre degradation will increase a little bit, but also the way the various different cars, particularly in the GT and the hypercar class, where cars have different chassis, then you will see the performance varying from the start to the beginning, to the end of the race between the different competitors. Well, this is a historic track, 101 years old, the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, and Davidson knows all about its secrets.
Yeah, definitely one of the drivers' favourites. You can see there, 5.79 kilometres, 3.6 miles long, 11 corners in this clockwise circuit. Going to have a look at turn 1 and turn 2 first. Prima Variante. And the pit lane exit feeds on a little bit awkwardly into this first chicane. It's an important one to get absolutely right in qualifying. It's all about the braking into there. A slightly faster corner is the first of the Lesmos. Turn 6, a nice flowing right-hand corner. Dance with the curbs on the outside, but look out for those track limits there, and also on the second Lesmo. Then we look at the Variante as a Ascari chicane. They've removed one of the sausage curbs on the inside of turn 9, and that allows for a bit of a faster flow through that corner as well before you go down the back straight and the final corner, turn 11. It's a great circle. Yeah, like I say, the drivers really enjoy coming to this track, and predominantly about the braking zones and acceleration. We think of this as a high-speed circuit. It is in terms of straight line speed, but the corners are actually relatively slow. But still, nevertheless, you cover a lot of mileage around this racetrack.
And yet for nearly 20 years, it was a Grand Prix race here that had the highest average speed of any Grand Prix anywhere. So that was after the demise of the old Hockenheim with its 90% flat out full throttle running, which was just awesomely terrifying. So we send the cars out in our 3 different groups. We've got 3 classes of car here. GTE Am, these cars are based on the chassis of a road-going supercar. So you've got Ferrari 458, got Porsche 911 RSR, you've got the Aston Martin. Who have I missed out? No one, that's
and Corvette.
It. And Corvette, of course, yeah, C8R. And they're highly modified, I mean, extremely highly modified. The screen would still fit a road car. The actual tub is still a millimetre precise version of the road car. The doors might even fit on the road car. Anything else does not come up on Ferrari's road car parts list or Corvettes or anybody else's. They are the extrapolation to the extreme of GTs.
Yeah, it's well put. They're kind of like a prototype of a GT car, aren't they? It's kind of like what you would do to a GT car if you could have a free rein on the design. But yeah, it's the last year we're going to see these beautiful cars before we have GT3 next year, which is more of a common scene globally now, isn't it? The GT3 platform. But yeah, I love the look of these current GT cars we have at the moment.
They are properly purposeful. They are beloved by the Pro and the Am drivers that have driven them for the last decade and more. We're going to be sorry to see them go. What we trade them in for, if you like, though, gentlemen, is probably a bigger grid of GT cars, but absolutely, most certainly, a more varied grid of GT cars. There will be names that will be joining the FIA World Endurance Championship that we've not seen before in GT competition, and in some cases that we've not seen in competition at all.
Well, we currently have 4 brands on the grid in GTE Am. There is a potential 12 different manufacturer spread that could be coming in GT3. Now, maybe not all of them will come, maybe not all of them will feel competitive or will feel the need to come to the World Endurance Championship, but every single one of those manufacturers would love to see their cars win the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Monza is an interesting place. It was built in 100 days in 1922. Can you imagine how to build a 10-kilometre road circuit with an oval track attached that's a full length of 10 kilometres?
Still here.
Plus all the infrastructure in 100 days. They're closing this place in December, and it won't be open until the Italian Grand Prix at the end of July next year. So in 6 months, they're going to renovate it. That's 3 times the time it took nearly to build it a century ago. I mean, it's astonishing. There was 30,000 people working on this on occasions.
There you go.
And they had a railway set up to take all the raw materials around that then became transport for the fans to take them around the track in the 20s and 30s. I mean, the most astonishing piece of construction.
And it's still one of those places in world motorsport that's undeniably special. There are not that many of them. You know, it depends on your point of view, but this place most certainly is one of them. There is a sense of occasion arriving here. There's a sense of occasion when you're watching trackside from doing that. Let's have a listen to what's going on with the championship leaders, Corvette Racing.
Under 3 minutes, so you're fueled for the entire session. Copy.
Now, in the GTE Am class, this is a Pro-Am driver lineup in the strictest meaning of the terms. Most of the bronze-rated drivers, the lowest license grade, if you like, that the FIA approve, most of them are very successful businessmen who can afford to indulge their passion, which is motor racing. Mike Wainwright in this car, Ben, that you just saw in the Corvette, and so on, Thomas Floor. You know, they're all super successful in other spheres, but they have this driving passion to race cars, and that gives us an opportunity to have these cars on the grid because they predominantly put together the funding package for the whole thing. And in GTE Am, it is those drivers, the bronze drivers, who go out to qualify against their peers.
Well, we're about to go live for the first of these 3 qualifying sessions.
1 minute, under 1 minute to open pit lane for LMGTE qualifying session, under 1 minute. Again, a reminder to the drivers that track limits are to be respected as usual. Any lap which is reported or which we see as being done beyond the track limits will be immediately deleted within our possibilities, of course.
And that's as clear as it possibly can be. Them's the rules. The one thing we can say here, 12 cars, 12 drivers, 12 teams in this session.
30 seconds, under 30 seconds to open pit lane. Under 30 seconds to open pit lane.
Should the 33 car end this session on pole, that does affect the mathematics for the championship that could be settled here in GT Am. We'll wait until this session gets underway because we're going to get another call very shortly from
10,
there we go.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pit exit is now open. LMGT qualifying session has started.
So our dozen cars head out, or will head out, into this 15-minute session for LMGTE Am. No tyre warmers, as we've seen so far this season, apart from at Le Mans, which means that they will need to warm their tyres up to not take the edge out of them too quickly. That's why I heard that Ben Keating's being filled for the entire session, because they may well wait until their third lap or their fourth lap before they really get the best out of it. And Anthony, the other element here is losing laps for track limits. You need to have the fuel to be able to go again.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it serves a multitude of reasons, really. Topping the car up with fuel, like they said, or enough fuel to do the laps needed for those 15 minutes in this qualifying session in GT Am. So the corners they're looking out for, though, for track limits, we heard Eduardo Freitas, the race director, mention it to all the teams and drivers. They're all fully aware, and we've seen some track limits and laps deleted already in free practice, 3 this morning. Turn 7, so the second of the Lesmos. So this is the first one coming up here, the first of the Lesmos. Track limit's not so important on the exit. This one is the next corner that leads onto the back straight towards turn 8, 9 and 10. Turn 10, exit of the Ascari chicane. That's another one. So here's the second Lesmo. So we're looking for the white line on the exit there, right in the middle of your screen. So Keating on that lap, you'd say that's fine because he's within the white lines. If all 4 wheels were to go out on the outside of that white line, your lap time will be deleted. They are looking, and there are cameras there in that particular corner. So now we're into the Ascari chicane. Turn 8 coming up here, and then 9, the right-hander, into turn 10 on the left. Now the exit of turn 10, on the right-hand side there, that's another one. They're looking at that white line there, and also the final corner, the, I still call it the Parabolica. For me, it will always be the Parabolica, but there's now changed it to Curva Alboreto. Turn 11 on the exit, they're also looking at the white line there.
So Ben Keating, not first out on track, by the way, the 25 ORT Aston Martin and the 777 D-Station car are ahead of Ben here, but he's got a very clear track in front of him.
And he's not even, sorry Graham, he's not even bothered about this lap. You can see he opened the lap up, wasn't even bothering the outside of the circuit at all, which is the normal racing line on the exit there. All the cars weaving around. They're fueled up for this 15-minute session. There's 12.5 remaining. They're not even pressuring these tyres at all on lap 1. It's all about what comes later on in this session.
I talked to a number of drivers in GT Am, in LMP and in Hypercar, and at least 2 warm-up laps before they even think of pushing the tyre to its limits. So there's a couple of drivers. We were riding on board, this is with Adam El Harthy, down to the Roger, the second of the chicanes. We're riding on board. When you come out to the Lesmos, you go down in a dip under a bridge, and people who've not seen Monza before might wonder why there's a bridge over the top. That's not a bridge, that's part of the old banking. And in fact, one of the drivers in this qualifying has never seen Monza before, and he is the first. He's the first driver ever from his nation to take part in any FIA World Championship event, and that is Efren Castro. Comes here with a lot of Cup car Porsche racing experience from the USA, but he's the first man from the Dominican Republic. He said he's just so excited to be at a place he's only ever seen on TV. Just wishes he'd had a couple of days testing in the car before he got here.
Every time I touch the brakes, I get red lights all over the dash. Switch A1, function switch 5, click the button. Your dash will reset for a moment. Wheel speed should come back. Now, Ben, there will be no traction control. We need to do it.
Ooh, that's entertaining. Not for Ben. I mean, it's going to be very entertaining.
I think we're hearing from Louise down the pits. I think that might have been a stop for the Iron Dames.
Yeah, the 85 Iron Dames came in. They did an outlap on a set of medium Michelins and have changed a set of tyres and gone back out on a fresh set.
Well, there are 2 options available to the Hypercar crews, which are medium and hard tyres here, but for LMP2, it is 1 option, and it is the same 1 option for, or it is a pair of different options for GTE Am. So Ben Keating, if he's not got traction control, that's going to limit him under braking into the chicanes, on power out of the chicanes as well.
My understanding was he wouldn't have traction control whilst they were making the reset on the to get his dash back. For some reason, under the braking, the dash was disappearing from him. So, yeah, it's not as important with the dash disappearing under the braking as opposed to being on power, because then you can't see your shift lights. And so, yeah, it's not ideal, but it's not as severe a problem as if it was there or losing the dash on the upshift.
Claudio Schiavone, you just saw there in the yellow Iron Lynx Porsche. Porsche went 1, 2, 3, 4 in free practice 3, the last practice before the lunch break. But D-Station and ORT currently at the top of the pile, but they were out of the pit lane first. Doesn't necessarily mean the Aston Martin's going to have that pace. In fact, the Aston teams and the Corvette teams and definitely the Ferrari teams are all saying the hotter it gets, the worse it is for them versus the Porsches.
Well, Mike Wainwright was late out into the session. He's gone top of the session briefly, just bettered by Julien Piquet, another late arrival in the on track in the 21 car. So 1:49.872 is the mark from the French driver aboard the 21 AF Corsa car.
Schiavone in that yellow Ferrari has the fastest first sector of anybody. ORT by TF Ahmed El Harty. The orange Aston goes to the top of the pile and D-Station follows. So Ahmed El Harty and Satoshi Ashina go quicker, and that is the AO Porsche. That is the AO Porsche of our debutant, Efren Castro. So I had a chat with him in the driver's autograph session, which was absolutely rammed. He's not driven these cars before. He's never driven the RSR. He's driven Cup car versions of the 911, which have ABS and a whole different aero balance. And he said, I've just got to trust the aero and really push for it. There's his 18-year-old teammate.
Yeah, that looked like a lot of gravel making its way to the racing surface as well.
And that might be...
He's got away.
Right, he's kept going, but that might be ruining remaining qualifying laps.
Yeah, I think Castro just lost it there on the entry to the Ascari chicane with cold tyres. They're still circulating around 2 seconds, 3 seconds off of the pace from FP3 as the D-Station car, 777. Wainwright is a little bit too far on the exit of the second chicane. We often see that, though. It's self-policing in terms of track limits.
There's quite a hole in that gravel trap at that point.
Well,
they're going to be
red flag.
Yeah, that's because of the gravel.
It's gravel, yeah.
And that was actually in Eduardo's notes. And also, not only if you run wide at the Roger, are you going to dig a hole, which we will not fill in during the race, but also if you run wide on the exit at turn 11, he pointed out that when the wheel on the drops off the outside edge of the serrated curb, there is quite a rough concrete edge and your sidewall comes down on it like on the edge of a cheese grater. So there is more than just a potential of a drive-through penalty or occurring penalties for that. There's Efren Castro's gravel trap. And I think Efren probably won't get to go out and qualify again. The FIA rules normally are, if you bring out red flag in a qualifying session, you don't get to continue. We'll wait and see. We had this conversation earlier in the season. I can't quite remember whether that is the same.
No, your fastest lap time gets deleted. So
well,
he's made it back to the pits, and he will get to go out again, but his fastest lap time will be deleted.
Now, he had at least set a time. Sarah Bovey in the pink Porsche, the Iron Dames car, has not set a time yet, but by the time they have completed 2 warm-up laps, this is going to be a single-shot qualifier, isn't it?
It's looking that way, and with the odd lap deleted for track limits in the mix as well, the order has somewhat reshuffled. It is Ahmed El Harty at the moment tops the times. That's a 1:48.545 for the 25 ORT by TF Sports Aston Martin, the bright orange car. And
Ben Keating lost his fastest lap for track limits, so that dropped him down from the top 3 to what is 10th place now.
Yeah. Luis Perez Compact currently sent second in the number 83. There's
Mike Wainwright showing that apparently running on ball bearings isn't exactly great, and that's what all those tiny little bits of stone are like. It is basically ball bearings. It's as slippery as ice. There's
damage to the diffuser as well from that.
Damage to the diffuser. They'll be running over that curb's not great, but also 4 flat-spotted tyres.
That's an astounding slow-mo.
Great, eh? But I mean, you see all that gravel on the circuit, and you have to slow down and
of course he's added to that, because he's dragged gravel through and spread it even further away. So this might be a little bit of a time before they can get the sweepers out. Lots and lots of fans. Great to see so many fans here at Monza. I was chatting to a couple of fans who come from the UK in the pit lane down during driver's autograph session. I was saying, you just come to Monza. Is this your first, race of the season? And one of the guys was saying, it's my first motor race ever. So, all right, you're setting the bar quite high. Monza at a race after Ferrari's just won Le Mans overall. That's a pretty good first outing.
Well, doesn't that say something about actually the way that this championship, specifically in sports car racing in general, is heading of late? you know, in what is not an easy place in the world at the moment to promote motor racing. We are seeing more and more people opting to come to a circuit, and look, that is a joyful thing.
And look, it is super busy. This weekend is also the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, so Formula One fans from the UK, if they've managed to get tickets, will be all over that. It's also the biggest race weekend in Germany. It's the DTM at the Norris Ring, and yet we've still got a monster crowd here in Monza. Well, let's catch up with Nicky Katzberg in the Corvette garage and see what they're thinking.
Nicky Katzberg, your team obviously always supporting you, getting your camera ready.
Yeah, they were doing my hair when we're getting the camera ready. I have to look good now.
So obviously Ben's lap's been deleted. We have the red flag. How does that mess up your flow or his flow for this qualifying session?
Not so much. I mean, it's the same for everyone. He's actually one of the guys that the least amount of laps before the red flag, so maybe his tires are a bit better than the others. I think it's a good call, the red flag. There was a lot of stuff on track, which would have caused some other spins as well. So let's see, we still have the full qualifying session to go.
Can you just step over to one side here? Look, they need their moment. There you go. Always good fun.
It's
in this garage.
It's
Thanks,
not just
Nicky.
the middle of the night at Le Mans where they entertain. The Corvette racing crew, I don't know if they go to like the Comedy Store on open mic nights and go, you come and be a mechanic, because they are genuinely...
They're great fun.
Yeah.
By the way, if you look on social media to watch the initial incident that effectively brought out this red flag, take a look at the moment with Ben Keating, Nicky Katzberg and Nick Alfaroni saying thank you to the whole crew. I'm saying no more than that, but lovely to see that. If this is a team sport, we always say it's a team sport, but that was a real team moment.
You know what? I haven't actually. Say again. What were you talking about?
They gifted each of the mechanics. Everybody in the garage was gifted a really quite nice watch.
Oh, that. But yeah, okay. I heard you talking about. I haven't seen it with my own eyes, so I will. I promise you after this session.
They're watches I'm familiar with, but don't own one myself, because everybody who claimed a pole position or a win in Chevrolet's World Touring Car Championship team was gifted a special Louis Chevrolet watch. Wow. So I know the quality of those watches. They're Louis Chevrolet watches. Louis Chevrolet, a Swiss businessman and entrepreneur, not only made watches, but also something else. Oh yeah, cars.
Did he?
That was it, yes. So Swiss emigre Louis Chevrolet created one of America's greatest car brands.
This is our session leader as we wait for the clear up down at the chicane to be completed. It is the number 25 car. Nicky Katzberg, we were saying a little earlier as we wait for a tyre change here on the number 60 car, just before it goes back out and shore for the second half of this session. Nicky Katzberg comes to this race having won a third 24-hour race in 6 weeks. Lest we forget, all three in different cars.
Nürburgring 24 outright, Le Mans 24 in GTE Am, and then in the gold
Nürburgring 24.
Last weekend in Spa.
Yes,
24.
that's right.
Gold
Nürburgring
class.
24 outright for Ferrari.
Yes.
Corvette, of course.
Yes, outright, sorry, yeah. Corvette was a class win, and class win in Spa.
Okay, we should be starting in 1 minute. We should be starting at 54:30. We should be starting in 1 minute.
I was about to say that on the team Discord channel, Eduardo has clearly given them a 5-minute heads up, which is why the teams were ready with the tyres to go, if they didn't know anything.
Yeah.
Of course, now there are no tyre warmers, no tyre ovens, no tyre blankets. You can have the tyres out ready to go whenever. What you're not allowed to do is leave them in the sunshine and allow the sun to preheat them, because then they'd be halfway to operating temperature. You have to keep them in the shade, which at Spa meant they were in single digits. Here means they'll be 25 to 30 degrees, but operating temperature will be 95 to 100. So
Yes, we start in 20 seconds. We resume in less than 20 seconds.
So they will take time again to warm them up.
2, sorry, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Session has been resumed. Session has been resumed.
Very briefly there, Eduardo was channeling every program controller on Eurosport ever. 10, 3, 1. Sorry, commentators, we're 4, 2. You're live. So he was just, as he was starting the final countdown, just receiving a message that somebody was not yet back in post, and that's why he extended that another few seconds. So his overriding concern is the safety of everyone who comes to these race meetings. That's the only thing that he is really concerned with. And
interestingly, the car 56, Efren Castro's lap, there's no further action in causing that red flag.
I wonder if it's because he did spin, he made a mistake, he recovered the car to the circuit. Are they punishing? They're not punishing the net results, which was the offence, if you like, was spinning off, but he managed to rejoin. That would it not itself have caused a red flag?
Yeah, the red flag was caused only after the next car spun off and caused even more gravel.
Bingo.
And then I think at that point they realised, yeah, we're going to need to clear this up. But yeah, interesting one. It's a bit of a grey area inside the regulations there. And so yeah, Castro's got away with that one.
That's good news for us in the future, that if somebody has an incident and they continue in the session, but for some reason the session has to be red flag, it's not on them.
This is Sarah Bovey making her way to the front of this little queue.
And she needs to. She's not set a time. Don't forget, she and Ben Keating have effectively, apart from Le Mans, battled for pole for the last year. When they were in the Ferraris at the end of last season, Sarah really came on strong. Now, of course, the Iron Dames have changed in World Endurance into the Porsches, but in GT3, when they were racing at Spa last weekend, in the Lamborghinis that they're racing in GT3, because Iron Lynx will be Lamborghini's factory hypercar program next year, and very likely will run Lamborghinis in GT3 in the WEC as well.
If my memory, sorry, maybe you know this one, Graham, if my memory serves me correctly, Al Harty has had a pole position this year in Spa. Yeah. So yeah, it can be done. Absolutely. You can mix it with Ben Keating and Sarah Bovey.
Yeah, and I don't think, certainly Ahmed doesn't think that the Aston has got the pace here, and I don't think the Corvette guys think they've got the pace here. The Ferrari guys think it's all about Porsche. It should be all about Porsche, but right now, Ahmed Al Harty's ORT by TF Aston is on top of the pile, and as we said, this is the first flying lap. This isn't going to be quick. The second flying lap might not be quick either.
Well, you say that, both Ben Keating and Sarah Bovey are up on the current provisional pole time. Now remember, that was developing. Christian Reed goes quicker still in the first sector. So everybody making improvements at the moment, including Efren Castro, not on pole position pace, but not that far off it.
There will be purple sectors galore.
All over the place.
I think I just saw all four wheels over the white lines there on the exit of the second.
Was that the 777 car?
It was the Ferrari, I think, behind the 777 car, the 83.
It is the 83, okay. The Lewis Perez compact car that sits second in the order at the moment.
So now then, these tyres were not stone cold, although we did see new tyres going on to Claudio Schiavone's yellow Porsche, but these tyres were not, and does that mean when they've had a bit of heat in them, they haven't lost it all and they're coming on a little faster? Sarah Bovey's keeping the pace up. Ben Keating, 96 thousandths back from where he'd like to be, but maybe that's just the way the cars treat the different part of the track.
Keating wasn't pushing so much on the exit there of the final corner, but Bovey was right on the perfect racing line.
She could go to the top. She does. It's a 1:48.182, 0.363 of a second clear. So the Iron Dames go from nowhere to the top.
And Christian Reed's coming in the 77 car as well, only 38 thousandths back at the end of the second sector. Ahmed Al Harty is second. Ben Keating did improve to go third ahead of Lewis Perez Compact, the best Ferrari.
At the moment, no track limits shown for Lewis Perez Compact.
Michelle Gatting there in the pink cap, absolutely implacable. Here is Sarah Bovey, the Belgian ace, 34 years old, 4 podiums in the World Endurance Championship in her career so far.
Ben Keating up on the current provisional pole time after the first sector.
So has Sarah Bovey. She's got a better first sector going. So has Efren Castro, who's right in the middle of the field, actually. 7th fastest. First time he's driven this car, first time he's been to Monza.
Julien Pigray comes across the line. He improves to 5th. There's going to be improvements throughout this session, as you quite rightly say. Probably 2 more fast laps available for these drivers.
Now, there might be a real last gasp, because don't forget, Claudio Schiavone in the yellow Iron Lynx Porsche, not the pink Iron Dames Porsche, had brand new tyres. Now, we didn't see him have a spin, but he might have done. But that means his are going to take longer to come in.
He might just have run through the gravel.
Yeah.
Sarah
Half
Bovey,
a second up. This is brilliant stuff from Sarah Bovey. And she's chasing Ben Keating to the line. He does not improve on his first or second sector. This will not be a better lap for Keating, but it will be a much better lap for Sarah Bovey.
This is the actual mark here, I think, here for pole position.
This is going to be in the mid-147s, 147.632. That's a big lap from Sarah Bovey in the Iron Dames Porsche. They had a shocking weekend, the Iron Dames and the Iron Lynx car.
She was out to a shake of the head there. I saw her, she crossed the line. I wondered why. It's because sector 3 wasn't even a personal best for her. She knows there's more to come from that already pretty mighty lap, but what a carrot in front of her.
Absolutely.
Seeing your competition of the 33 Corvette, I always found when I was behind the wheel, there was always that extra motivation you needed. Just you could see your competition, you just gunning for them.
That was the fighty part of your racing style that we always loved, Dan.
Sarah Bovey was on pole in Monza last year, 147.431. She's just set a 147.632.
It's way warmer this year.
It is very hot this year, but like you said, the final element out of the Parabolica, the Curva Alboreto, she lost time.
Excellent lap from Mike Wainwright, goes second in the 86 GR Racing Porsche.
And Perez Compact improved, but not enough. That's a brilliant lap from Mike Wainwright. Ahmed El-Hati still third, Ben Keating still fourth. And where's our newcomer? 8th place for Efren Castro. First man, he's shown on our timing screens as being Portuguese, but he's not. That's his young teammate.
He's Portuguese
Enrique.
licence, I think.
Okay, but he is proudly showing the red, white and blue flag of the Dominican Republic. He was saying, I'm so proud to be here. We've got a tiny country. There are only 2 sports in the Dominican Republic, baseball and motor racing. And he said, but we just don't have the resources to bring drivers in.
Got 38 seconds left in this session. There is going to be a pack here that do make it around, Ant, for another crack at this. There's going to be no improvement this time around from Sarah Bovey, who's lifted off a little.
Perez
Mike
Compact
Wainwright is on that time. Perez Compact is doing well here. Who wants to complete the lap? Currently 6th position.
And I think Compact might be on his final lap here.
Second. Ooh, but still 3/4 of a second back. Ahmed El-Hati also makes it across the line. 10 seconds to go. The last car coming out of the Parabolica, the 77 car, Christian Reed, will also cross the line. Mike Wainwright spun. So that's the GR Racing car.
And the
fourth, that's the
56
AO
as well.
car as well. And that is Efren Castro.
So by the time the front runners get round again, this will be, hopefully, this should be clear.
Yep.
I think so.
Checker flag out for Claudio Schiavone. Checker flag out as well for Thomas Floor in the 54.
Keating goes
Look
purple.
at this, yeah.
Keating goes purple in sector 1. He's 2/10 up. This is the lap if it's going to count.
Oh, but he had a bit of a moment there, Graham. He just turned to look at the circuit map. He had a moment in the first Lesmo. Keep it tidy on the exit here. That looks
tight
pretty
as
close.
well.
Depends what side of the car the camera is on and how far out it is. That might still be legal. Down underneath the banking. If you watch the film Grand Prix, they still race on the banking in the 60s.
3 cars, purple against the pace for pole here at the moment. It is Ben Keating, it is Christian Reed, and it is Luis Perez Compact.
That looked good through the Ascari chicane, but he's down. 3/10 down, in fact, in that middle sector. I wonder if it's that moment he had in the Lesmos.
Just lost him ground.
Remember, if he doesn't get pole position here, it would be first or second that would claim the title, not third.
He's gone too deep as well into the final corner.
I think he knows.
He's just hanging everything out there. Ben Keating does not like giving up. He will have given it everything on that lap, but it's not enough. 6th position becomes 5th position. Luis Perez Compact behind him across the line. Comes the Iron Dame Sarah Bovey. She did not improve on that lap. Oh, here comes Luis Perez Compact in the slipstream, comes across the line. How far up does he go? 3rd place. So that pushes Mike Wainwright down to 4th, Ben Keating down to 5th.
This is close. This is close.
This could be second. He might just, you know, he's 4200s to second, and across the line, 77 becomes 3rd. So 40, he was 60, 58 thousandths.
Also lost a lot of time. Also lost a lot of time in that final sector. So
Sorry.
I think the tyres were clearly there earlier than everyone is expecting. So they fueled it for the whole session, but actually the tyres started to go away ever so slightly towards the end there. Really interesting. And maybe the other categories will take note of that.
But I wonder if that heat cycle and then going again on them made a difference, having them cool down, whether it maybe gave them more to go to the checker flag or less. But again, at Monza, it is pole position for Sarah Bovy. It is the Belgians' 5th career WEC pole. Big thumbs up there to Ben Keating. And that's been such a professional and friendly rivalry. They love qualifying against each other, all of these drivers, and really pushing hard against their peers, not against some random pro. These are against drivers of their own category.
We're joined here on the bill at Monza by the F1 Academy, the all-female, the new all-female series this year with F3 cars. This got to be encouraging for those young ladies when they can see the kind of performance that can be done on World Championship level. Let's go down with Louise, who's got Michelle Gatting at Iron Dames to respond to that excellence from Sarah Bovy.
Michelle Gatting, another great performance from Sarah in qualifying there. She even shook her head at the end of Sector 3, I think it was, but she put in a great run.
Yeah, again, I mean, we've been feeling good so far, and Sarah was, again, confident before qualifying. She was quite sure she could go out and do very well, and she showed she could. Car is good. The Porsche seems fast. But we have seen this before. Tomorrow we have to finish the job, and this time we are really hungry for it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
It's an intriguing race to come, isn't it? It was not dominated by Porsches. They did set pole position.
Rahel Frey, she's going to have no nails left. Now, a couple of years ago, Rahel would have been racing in the DTM at the Norris Ring this weekend. Here she is in the World Championship. And this team are so hungry for a win, especially off the back of a shocking weekend of misfortune last weekend in Spa.
They did it at the end of the season in the European Le Mans Series last season. They've looked to be in contention for most of this season.
Yep.
It's not quite happened for them. Could here be the venue for what would be a historic moment? We have had, of course, a female winner in the FIWC in GTE Am. Lila Wadou took the win in GTE Am aboard the number 83 car, but that is the result from that GTE Am classification, Martin.
Yeah, so Porsche, Aston Martin, Porsche, and then the best of the Ferraris in 4th place. I think that's possibly a little more than the Richard Mille team might have expected, but some great laps from Luis Perez Compact to go so close to Christian Ried. Christian just under half a tenth away from Amador. Sarah Bovy, half a second clear of the field, and until the final hurrah from Amador Harty and Christian Ried, 3/4 of a second clear. She really used the car superbly. No laps deleted, and as fast as you like.
Yeah, great competition always between the Iron Dames cars, Sarah Bovy and Ben Keating. But yeah, Ben Keating, he did it in the first sector. I was expecting that to carry on through the second and third sectors, but it just went away from him, a little bit scruffy through the Lesmos perhaps. I just feel like the tyres were just starting to fall away in that Corvette, which means the race tomorrow will be quite interesting in terms of tyre preservation. I wasn't expecting that drop-off to be quite so severe in qualifying here today, and yeah, maybe the LMP2s will be seeing a tyre change through this qualifying session.
Next up, LMP2, 11 cars set to go to the track for the next 15 minutes of action.
If you're watching World Endurance Championship for the very first time, and understand you may well be, having seen the headlines that Ferrari win Le Mans and all of that, if you want to catch up with what's happened at Le Mans, then the entire 24-hour race is online for you to watch again, if you wish to. And also, go to the World Endurance YouTube channel and find full access from Le Mans, because that is our camera crews embedded inside a dozen or so of the teams up and down the pit lane in all the different classes, tracing some of the stories, some of the emotions, the highs and the lows, the roller coaster that is Le Mans. People often say to me, how do you talk for 24 hours? So you're kidding me, there's more than 60 cars, that's more than 195 drivers, and all of them racing for 24 hours. We don't even scrape the top of it on the TV coverage, And that, the full access program from Le Mans is an absolute stunner. It will give you just a little bit more insight into the human element of all this racing.
Anybody that knows Martin Haven and his family too know that he doesn't struggle to talk for 24 hours straight. The Goodyear logos, by the way, on those sidewalls of the tyres and some of the graphics here, celebrating here 125 years of Goodyear, which I think that anniversary actually passes next month when we don't have a race. They're doing that here. So all of the sidewalls on these tyres with the very first logo.
The original, yeah, the original branding. It does look very different when you're used to the big sort of blocky Goodyear and the current design of Wingfoot. The original is yeah, it just feels quite different. Albert Costa there, still smiling. Mind you, nobody dropped a car on his foot, so you know.
There you go. Yeah, but, Fabio Scherer that was, wasn't it,
yeah.
at Le Mans? And
10 seconds.
Great bit of emotion to see a racing driver having to hop round to get into the car and then driving it when it was his right foot, his throttle and his brake foot that was damaged is just astonishing.
2, 1. LMP2 session has started. Please remind drivers of the need to respect track limits.
So we are slightly delayed. Just had a heads up. The Hypercar will start a fraction late. So 14 minutes and 50 seconds on the clock, and I hope everybody slapped before they went and sat in the open grandstands here, because it's hot.
And good news regarding the number 31 for all of you concerned back at home watching FP3. They've fixed the problem.
And what was it? Do we know what it was?
I don't think it was the spark plug, unfortunately. So my guess was far off, but. Yeah, they have fixed the problem. That's the most important thing.
So all 11 cars very shortly, and as I say, so all 11 cars are now on track. It is Prema Racing with their 2 cars, number 9 and number 63, Vector Sports and the number 10, and we saw their new car just before these sessions. We'll talk about that a little later. United Autosports, 2 cars for them. Jota's single car in this class, which joins their Hypercar, 2 from Team WRT, the 2 Alpine Elf cars, and the single car, the Le Mans winner, and the 34 from Inter-Europol competition.
I just want to explain what I was talking about earlier on with we might have a pit stop during this session. Again, 15 minutes long for the LMP2s. If there isn't a red flag or full course yellow or whatever, then I do expect them to come into the pits, slap on another set of brand new tyres, because qualifying is important in a 6-hour race here at Monza. Overtaking is difficult in LMP2. Obviously, all the same, they're all on the Orica chassis. You do have options, but they all decide to run the Orica chassis. They all got the same engines, the Gibson engine, that normally aspirated V8, and they're all on the same tyres. So overtaking is very tough in LMP2, particularly here in Monza. So I do expect them to go for qualifying. This means a lot to them, more than it does at some other circuits, particularly the last race at Le Mans being the big race that it is. And a lot more happens over a 24-hour race, of course. So, yeah, the emphasis comes a bit more on qualifying there. And maybe this is why they're all coming into the pits now, to put that next set of tyres on. They've scrubbed in a set for tomorrow's race. Weaving around on the straight still is a number 35 Alpine car. And we often see this split strategy, don't we, in LMP2 in qualifying. Some decide to stay on the one set, while others will come in and pit straight away, saving that set of scrubbed for the race, or maybe revisit that same set of tyres later on in qualifying.
Alpine's Ollie Caldwell with both hands firmly on the steering wheel there, no gesticulating. I caught up with him and I said, what was that all about? Those of you who might have seen a little bit of footage from pre-practice yesterday, we weren't streaming it live, but we had some onboards running, and he was gesticulating with one finger to the driver of a Ferrari Hypercar, who he said was doing about 10k when he got to Parabolica, and then blocked him, really chopped him badly, and then came in front of him and went straight off at the first chicane. He said, I was absolutely livid, but unfortunately it was on the onboard camera. He said, I didn't even know I had an onboard until I got called to the stewards.
Yes, that tends to happen like that.
But yeah, he was just very frustrated by the Hypercar.
So what happened in the end? Was it just a slap on the wrist, or is it actually carried a
There's certainly I've not seen a steward's decision.
No, it was just, yeah, you know, just bear in mind we are in a public forum, and like we do with microphones, never trust a car that might have a camera in.
Absolutely. 35 and 36 plus the 10, so both Alpine Elf cars and the Vector Sport car were the only 3 of the 11 that did not come in, we presume all of them for tyres.
Yeah, and that means, therefore, that he will try and set go for one hot lap and then maybe come in and change the tyres again. And again, it may be that they've just gone, OK, we'll just give you one set. I think that's unlikely. We want to give them as much of an opportunity as possible to qualify as well. Gabby Aubrey was also saying that their Vector Sport car, he thinks, oh, we're still not where we need to be when it gets hot.
Now. He's pitting now.
Yeah.
So Ollie Caldwell, who remember turned 21 years of age at midnight in the middle of the Le Mans 24 Hours.
Yep.
Here comes the 36 car, team car in the hands of Charles Lacey.
You saw Caldwell still weaving down the straight, which is suboptimal in terms of outright pace. But he needed the heat in the tyres. Charles Lacey is quickest so far, the only man to have set a real fast flying lap, a 1:48.5. There's WRT's Vincent Vos in the cap. We saw Thierry Tassin on the WRT pit wall a moment or two. And there is the logo of Isotta Fraschini, their Hypercar chassis in red, white and blue, and their track day, the Pista version, is here. Both were running, so the Corsa version, the Pista version were running, and there is also a scale model of the Stradale version, because yes, they intend to build and sell hypercars, which will be not detuned version of the race car, but probably have more horsepower than the race car.
Yeah, great to see them. 10 minutes on track today and 10 minutes more tomorrow for the crowds here to see another famous Italian marque return to the track, and they'll do so with Vector Sport, they hope, subject to selection in the 2024 FIA World Endurance Championship.
So the lap times set in free practice 3 for the fastest LMP2 car was a 1:39.6. So yeah, then nobody's got anywhere near that yet. The last lap with Charles Lacey was a 1:48. So he was winding up on that first lap, and now he's on his push lap. That's why you're seeing at the bottom of your screen the purple sectors flying. That means fastest of all through those individual sectors. This circuit built up of 3 of them, and here comes the car 35 to cross the line with a lap time of 47. So he was still building up, as you rightly spotted. And here's his teammate Milesi, who's been on an absolute flyer this lap to go fastest. What's he done here? Our screen hasn't updated yet. Still saying 47.5.
47.45. Pole position time, by the way, last year from the 22 United car was a 1:38.4. So,
sorry.
Caldwell went to top.
Sorry, I've just seen. So Milesi did do a 1:40. He lost the lap for track limits.
He did in the final sector. Yeah. But it's now Phil Hansen to the top as the cars that made their tyre stops start to come to the top. Phil Hansen from Ferdi Habsburg for Dorian Pin. But there's a big spread still in the lap times there, as Pietro Fittipaldi goes second for Jota.
That was an amazing lap from Charles Milesi before he got, it was a 1:40.9. The fastest so far is a 42.3. So the lap time was deleted before he had even crossed the line. That's what caught me out. So they're actually deleting lap times before you've completed it.
So presumably that was out of 7 or 10.
No, it was that corner just there from his teammate Caldwell. You could see the white lines coming up to you on the exit of 10. He now heads towards the final corner. He hangs on at this point to the 2 fastest sectors of all. It seems to be within track limits, so his lap time stands when he crosses the line after this final corner. Now
there's some big gains coming here in lap times, including from both of the Alpines, both of whom are well over a second up on the current pole position time. And indeed, Ollie Caldwell goes to the top with a 1:40.431.
But here comes Milesi again. He's been on an even faster lap, and he's kept it within the track limits this time around.
2.217 quicker, 1:40.214 is an Alpine LT12, 36 and 35. Charles Milesi from Ollie Caldwell. Phil Hansen coming around is up on this time, by the way, as are all bar 3 of the other runners.
Yeah, and they're on newer tyres, so the 2 Alpines now have to pit and hope that they've got time to utilise a second set of tyres.
Dorian Pin goes second, but Phil Hansen misses out on improved time with track limits in sector 2. So Milesi from Dorian Pin, Ollie Caldwell, then Ferdi Habsburg goes through. Andrea Caldarelli just switches positions there, and Pietro Fittipaldi goes to the top. It's a 1:40.074 for Jota.
Ooh, chance for Jota perhaps to claim 2 pole positions here, because their Porsche in Hypercar has been going very quickly. There is the Jota crew,
31,
WRT crew rather. Louise Beckett.
The 36 Alpine team are ready with a new set of tyres for that car to come in and change them.
Yeah, I was just thinking, Lou, that if they really want pole position here today, they're going to need to throw another set at it. They stayed out there, of course. Other teams were in. I still don't understand why they pit straight away to put another set of tyres on, but the Alpine have done it the more traditional way, I'd say, with 6 minutes still remaining in the session. They do have enough time, as is this Habsburg getting out of the way there? Yes, it is, of the Jota number
31,
28.
28.
Sorry, there's only one. 22 United Autosports. Phil Hansen, that car on pole last year in the hands of Felipe Albuquerque, is 10th out of 10 cars that have set a time.
Look at this.
Now WRT does. Dorian Pan, fresh off an enormous accident at Blanchimont in Spa in her Lamborghini that brought out the safety cars and ended their race. That has not dented her abilities or her confidence, clearly. Dorian Pan heading for pole. Could we have two female pole position sitters? We do at the moment. 5 minutes remain in the session. 200ths
of a second quicker. It's a 1:40.054, but there are other cars going quicker behind her. Fittipaldi coming to the line. He is quicker. Under a 10th in has come Charles. I think he's about to leave the pits with those new tyres.
Ollie Caldwell is out.
Fittipaldi to the top.
Fifth best. Fittipaldi fastest. Fittipaldi 3200s up, 139.73. Last year's pole 138.4. We could go closer.
Here comes Albert Costa. Two fastest sectors, but no, can't achieve it in the final sector. Almost 4/10 down by the time he crosses the line. But we did hear from Louise, who says in my ears, that the Alpines are back out there on their fresh set of tyres.
Gabio Rico second for Vector Sport. Not the first time he's been in that position. 4.5 minutes to go. And this qualifying session for these LMP2 cars is heating up.
Dorian Pan is improving on the first sector of her current lap. So is poleman Pietro Fittipaldi. Gabby Aubrey has gone purple on his current first sector on his lap. So he's going quicker than the car in front and behind him. Phil Hansen puts in a lap finally that looks like it's legal, and he goes 5th fastest. Charles Malaysi lost his out lap.
I'm intrigued. I think Alpine are onto a good thing here. They put that new tyre on. The drivers are in the groove. Now they've got the benefit of new tyres. I really think they're going to make best use of them this stage, and that's why we saw the WRT immediately slow down. It was after that moment there where he let the Jota past. Here is Hansen into the final corner.
Look how close Hansen is to the top of the pile. 5 thousandths away at the end of the second sector. Can he find something in sector 3? Yeah, Fittipaldi quicker again. Gabby Aubrey quicker again.
Hansen goes third. Third behind Robert Capizzi, who's 5 thousandths of a second off Pietro Fittipaldi's time last time. What can Fittipaldi do now?
But watch out for Gabby Aubrey. He's the last of these cars coming through there. He's in the slipstream behind the two Prema cars, I think. Here he is. Yeah. Is this going to be pole position for Aubrey? No, not quite enough.
Fittipaldi was faster again. A 39.707. Fittipaldi raised the bar on the last lap. Kubica 28 thousandths back. Nothing there for Intereuropol. Albert Costa remains in 4th, although that was an improvement for him.
So I feel like their tyres are just starting to drop away now. All of the runners that have been out there, the track's improving, the drivers are getting more in the groove. What can these Alpines do?
Well, they need to do something because they're now down to 7th and 9th, Ollie Caldwell and Charles Malaysi, and they have 1 lap with other cars going slowly and blue flags waving. Get out of the way. Some do, some don't.
Through comes the 41 car. This is Robert Kubica. He's very close to pole position time here.
And he's got another shot if this
goes to the top.
Wow, his second sector was not even as good as he's done previously, but the third sector was a blinder.
Great lap by Kubica.
Switches a 28 thousandths deficit to a 28 thousandths advantage.
Wow, you know, he likes symmetry. Here's Dorian Pan, not quite on it this lap. She'll get another if there's anything she thinks that's left in the tyres. Only her middle sector was better than anything she'd previously done. Gabby Aubrey quicker as well, but has it drifted away in the second sector? Has he caught traffic?
Albert Costa as well, flying in the first 2 sectors.
Wow.
Neither of them achieved the final sector, though, on this. So here's Aubrey now. I feel like he's got a bit of clearer air this time through that final corner and picks up a slipstream for good measure down the main straight.
So he comes across the line. Gerda van der Gaard still 11th out of 11th. No improvement for Gabby Aubrey. Here comes Albert Costa.
Goes 4th.
Wow, good run.
None of them perfecting this final sector, apart from Kubica.
Dorian Pan is improving. Ollie Caldwell is improving. Charles Milesi is not improving.
Robert Kubica, though, is over a quarter of a second up on his previous provisional pole time.
Van der Kaart. Geerder goes nowhere. Still 11th, Geerder.
Look at Kubica. Two purple sectors. He's absolutely flying. His boss, Vincent Voss, watching on as he approaches this final corner here.
Did he have traffic there? Did he just go back that bit?
I think he'll be okay, Graham. I think he'll be okay. He just went around the outside of him.
Oh, Kubica absolutely flying. This is pace we have not seen from the Polish driver before now.
And he does. He takes a further 0.3 out of the pace.
Wow, wow,
1:39.354 is a
He's
new
happy with that one.
Yeah.
His boss is happy with that one. Great lap.
Dorian Pan, I think, had a bit of a moment there.
Yeah, gravel trappy moment, that's going to cost the time. Checkered flag is going to come out in 20 seconds.
Albert Costa fastest through the first sector.
Oh my goodness, and both Alpines are on quicker laps, but no purple times. Their gamble has not worked. They need another lap, the Alpines, after this to really get the best out of the tyres. They're not going to get it. Here's the Jota.
Checkered flag is coming out in 3, 2, 1.
Pietro Fittipaldi, not as quick, will probably pit at the end of this lap. He's second at the moment. Oh, he's going to lose this one on track limits anyway.
Hansen goes third.
Hansen goes third. That's a good run from Phil Hansen. Gabby Aubrey's taken a checkered flag. So has Ferdy Habsburg in the 31 Team WRT car that we really haven't seen. There's Albert Costa.
I think that's what she wrote, because the two cars that have got quicker sector times have both suffered track limits on the current laps. It is going to be the 41 of Team WRT, with Robert Kubica setting a blistering pace and 3.5 tenths the good over Pietro Fittipaldi, then Phil Hansen and Gabby Aubrey.
Almost a bit of disbelief there down in the WRT car. Where did that lap time come? You saw that Vincent Voss, the team boss, was pointing at the screens as if to say, how did he do that sector there?
And big smiles from Sean Gillel and Robin Frines there as well. LMP2 pole sitter is Robert Kubica. So the first pole position in the World Endurance Championship for the Polish driver. That's a huge effort from him. It ended up, the margin, 1:39.364. Last year's pole was 9 tenths of a second quicker. And this is the final roll of the dice for Charles Milesi, squirreling it away across the gravel.
I wondered what happened in his second sector. That was it.
Everything.
He did a personal best in the first sector, which rivaled that of Robert Kubica's first sector, and then threw it all away in that second chicane. That's the challenge of Monza.
Louise Beckett in the doorway there, waiting to grab a quick word. Might have a chat maybe with Robin. Or actually, always good to hear from Vincent Voss and those guys there. The management there are stellar racing talents. You know, when you've got the likes of Thierry Tassin and Kurt Mollikens and Vincent Voss in the lineup, they know what makes drivers tick. They know how to manage drivers so well.
We talked about Vector Sport and what they've got coming, they hope, next year. We already know what WRT have got coming. They are already testing with their BMW Hypercar car, excuse me. But we're going to be going down now with Rui Andrade, who's with Louise Beckett in the pit garage of Team WRT after that pole position time from Robert Kubica.
Rui Andrade of the 41 WRT, I mean, he put in a great performance. First of all, got pole and then bettered it. That was awesome.
Yeah, we had a strong car, FP1, FP2. This morning we had a bit of trouble in the quali sim, but we knew we had a strong car. But yeah, amazing lap by Robert. I mean, it was very close, but he put 3 tenths on everybody else. So yeah, amazing job.
I loved the reaction of all of the team at the back there.
Yeah, we had some bets going for what the pole position time would have been. Vincent won, he was the closest, but what matters is that we got pole, so very happy for the whole team.
Of course Vincent won.
Of course, he was cheating, he knows.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course, Vincent. Well, we knew that was coming as well. Rui Andrade, the surviving member, the remaining member, rather, of the 41 crew, that won last year. So WRT's number 41 car won last year. Rui Andrade was in the car, so was Ferdy Habsburg, who remains with the team. So was Norman Nato, but Habsburg is in the other car this year. So Robert Kubica puts the 41 on pole to defend their victory from last season.
A standout qualifying lap from performance, indeed, from Robert Kubica. I don't know about you, Ant. but I don't think he's been close to that kind of form recently. In qualifying, certainly.
No, we've seen the odd lap here and there in race, or the odd stint here and there, but a lap like that, for me, I haven't seen that kind of quality from Robert Kubica since he joined the World Endurance Championship. That's the kind of driver that we always knew, or the drive he could put in, and he's been out there today and done exactly that.
And the key to it is look at the gap he's got, 3.5 tenths. Nobody below that until you get down to 8th and 9th has got a 10th between them.
And I know, they were saying, oh yeah, it's very close, it's 3 tenths, 3.5 tenths. That's not close.
It's not close to this.
The rest are all measured in thousands, or single thousands.
It's an annihilation.
I know.
Well, so we've had the antipasti platter of GTE Am, and then we've handed that over to a delicious
Primo patty of...
Yes, indeed. Palate cleansing risotto with LMP2.
Whoa.
And now, here we come. It's time for the pizza.
Feeling hungry?
Oh, yes.
It's time for carne. This is the red meat.
Well, feast your eyes on this beauty.
Yes, absolutely. And again, Ferrari coming here, having won Le Mans for the first time. Well, having been to Le Mans in the top class for the first time in 50 years.
I did not call any hypercar to the fast lane. I said hypercars are now allowed onto the working lane. That's what I said, not the fast lane. Car 51, please push the car back to the garage.
Oops.
Oh dear.
Alessandro Pierguidi, very, very eager to get out there. That's just a little snafu.
Was that not Giovinazzi?
It may well have been Giovinazzi.
It was Giovinazzi,
yeah.
You might have won Le Mans, but now you're in trouble.
Yeah, no, rules are still the rules.
Absolutely.
Rules are still the rules.
We're very sorry about it. We'll never happen again.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, will anything come from that? I don't know.
We've let ourselves down.
No.
We've let ourselves down.
It was a very, in fact, I don't mind me saying that, it was a very parental announcement from Eduardo.
Yeah.
I recognise that from Mum and Dad back in the day.
If I've told you once, I've told you a million times.
Everyone
not
watching
what I said.
can
Do
totally
not
empathise.
exaggerate.
We've all been there.
Now we go.
Now we go. So the Sol Caddy, we have the two Glickenhaus, with the Sol Glickenhaus, of course, yes. One Proton competition Porsche, brand new to the series. That's in the white WeatherTech livery. One Hertz Team Jota Porsche. That made its debut in Spa, raced convincingly in the lead until they had an accident at Le Mans. We've got the two Peugeots, the two Ferraris, the two Toyotas, the two Penske Porsches, and we have the single Floyd Van Wall. So 13 cars in this burgeoning hypercar class. We already touched on who's coming next year. WR2 will be running two BMWs. Iron Links, Premier Iron Links will be running.
Watch for the news in the coming days.
No,
it won't. I know. No? But watch for the news about the details of the Lamborghini program. That you won't have much longer to wait for that.
15 seconds.
And then, of course, Alpine with two brand new
10,
prototypes
9,
too.
8,
and possibly
7,
Isotta.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hypercar qualifying has started. Please remind drivers of the need to respect track limits.
I was talking to the two Alpine drivers, Melessi earlier, who was one of them. Actually, from two different cars, but driving for Alpine. And Vaxivier was the other driver, and they were chatting amongst themselves, and I said, "Oh, I bet you can't wait till next year, can you?" And really, we can't wait. Can't wait to get out of LMP2 and go and join these guys in the hypercar category, because the car looks so good as well.
It's the raw ambition of it. It's the newness of it. Yeah. It's the excitement at the moment in sports car racing. It's just palpable. And Le Mans, all Le Mans did was to open up a can of this fantastic biofuel and pour it on the fire. Yeah. Fantastic stuff. It really has rejuvenated the whole sport. What was an excellent 24 hours of Le Mans.
Medium tyres there on the Toyota. We can see just on the graphics, the side walls, you're looking for the yellow, see that yellow mark, almost like diamond shape. So you've got the medium and hard compound tyres here at this race with Michelin. We can hear from Alex Lynn now at Cadillac Racing.
Alex, make sure you protect the front left. Make sure you protect the front left in the prep laps.
So a change, by the way, to the strategy clear that was being devised for Ferrari, because whilst they'd pushed that car had gone to the end of pit lane, only just now the 50 car is gone, and the 51 still at the pit stall now coming out. So Toyota out with Ferrari, so they're going to be lapping together. That's going to be quite something. Still waiting for the 94 Peugeot. That's the final hypercar on pit lane. And gentlemen, they were very quick indeed in free practice earlier today.
Yeah, they really were. I mean, look, this is all about who can switch their tyres on the fastest, though, and they haven't got that luxury now like they had in free practice 3. You know, this is all about that 15 minutes, getting these tyres. Now, these cars seem to have the hardest compounds out of all of the categories that we've seen so far. So, yeah, you see here, the Porsche running very low on the straight. The tyre pressures will be low. The tyres are stone cold or ambient condition cold. And you're not allowed to heat them at all here. We did at Le Mans. We've reverted back to how we started this championship with no tyre warmers.
And they're heavy cars and they have high downforce levels, and that means the construction of the tyre has to survive that, not for one stint, but for 2 or 3 or possibly 4, particularly at Le Mans. So the construction of the tyre does not lend itself to fast heating up. It lends itself to providing the grip over a long period under extreme duress.
On board the number 5 Penske run Porsche, but the other 3 Porsches are all pitted at the end of that outlap. 38 from Team Jota, the sister car, number 6 car, 2 number 5 from on board with just briefly, and the 99 from Proton competition, as well as the Glickenhaus 708. All 4 of those pitted at the end of that outlap.
Jose Mira Lopez watching on, one of the drivers from the Car 7 Toyota car crew, and riding on board now with the 93 with Jean-Luc Laverne behind the wheel. Now the 93 Peugeot, like I said earlier on, Graham, that was indeed the fastest of all in FP3. Have they got that pace again?
But
when
they
it
needed
matters?
a replacement gearbox during that after that session.
Yeah, they've replaced it though, and they're back out there, and they've got the car. Have they got the car to do it? But they've got the car back out. That's the most important thing.
Jeff was very downbeat at the end of that. We were talking to Louise, and he was saying, yeah, well, we know the problems we've got, and yada yada. Okay, come on, just turn that smile upside down. Or turn that frown upside down. Let's make it a smile. And if he could put the car on pole here, that would definitely help.
Okay, fire's not ready, so I gotta go for a warm-up lap.
Copy.
I'm not ready, but I suppose I'll go for a warm-up lap. All right, then.
If you must.
That was, again, another... Sometimes you get very odd conversations when you hear bits of what has been probably a longer chat.
Yeah, just to confirm who's actually out there in this session, because it was a little bit mixed up at the start of it. Vicky has gone through, so it sets an opening time. It's not a competitive time, is aboard the 5 Porsche Penske car. The 93 is in the hands of Jean-Luc Verne. Alex Lynn in the caddy, the number 2. Esteban Guerrieri in the number 4 from Floyd Van Wall Racing Team. Kevin Estra is in the other Porsche Penske car, the number 6 car. It's Kamui Kobayashi and Brendan Harvey in the 7 and 8 Toyotas. Ifa Ye is on qualifying duty for Hertz Team Jota. Antonio Fuoco and Antonio Giovinazzi for Ferrari as the...
Gustavo Menez says that's the 94.
And that's who's aboard that one. Harry Ticknell in the 99, the debuting Proton competition car, and in his Olivier Pla in the Glickenhaus.
Yeah, it's a classic case of cold tyres here on the 94 Peugeot with Gustavo Menezes behind the wheel, straight out of the pits, a double lock-up, probably flat spotted his tyres straight away. And still we see cars weaving around all over the place, desperately trying to get some... that's Harry Ticknell in the Proton competition Porsche.
Menezes, was that his outlap? Was that his first flying lap? I wasn't quite sure.
I believe.
Yeah, so no, it was his out. It was the end of his out. Beginning of the first flying lap.
To the top goes Jean-Eric Verne in the 93 car, and that's a much better time. It's a 1:35.733.
Well, why did that Glickenhaus just pull over on the exit of turn 2? Was he getting out the way? But it looked like a pretty dramatic...
Maybe all the lights came on.
Avoiding action.
Pole position last year in Monza went to 708 Glickenhaus, 1:35.4.
So within 3/10 of that, 9 minutes to go in the session. So 1:35.7 for Jean-Eric Verne. There's the number 4 car.
Currently 3rd fastest in the hands of ex-touring car race Esteban Guerrieri.
Too deep into turn 1 and really compromised turn 2 apex and exit there.
There's another Argentine, 3 Argentines in the field. He's got Nico Veroni sharing the Corvette with Ben Keating and Nicky Katzberg.
Pretty close here between the 2 Toyotas at the moment.
As we come to expect, rarely any clear air between them in terms of pace. Brendan Hartley, Kamui Kobayashi is really Toyota's qualifying king, isn't he? Hartley at the moment
goes top.
Yeah, but Kamui goes quicker. And behind the 2 Ferraris, Giovinazzi, what's he got?
Oh, but the Peugeot 93's up there again, so it
stuff.
was genuine in FP3. There's a lock up there for Kamui Kobayashi, holds on to it.
Fuoco goes to 4th and Giovinazzi to 5th. Makavicki pops up in 6th place. Alex Lynn, who was 2nd just a few moments ago, tumbling down as all these other cars improve.
So this could be a chance for Brendan Hartley, keeping an eye on that first sector. Yeah, he does indeed go purple, and Kobayashi did make a mistake in that first chicane. And yeah, what's it got? 2/10 advantage at this point in the lap for Brendan Hartley as Alex Lynn.
Hartley's got the Hertz Team Joe car of FIA right in front of him, coming under the banking. Here's the 94 Peugeot. So this car down in 12th place.
Looked a bit scruffy there on the entry to the Ascari chicane. Didn't quite use all the circuit on the right-hand side available, and then the rear didn't look too settled on entry. Pulled Aresta there in front of camera with Loic Duval watching on.
Kobayashi, Hartley and Verne and Fuoco all up on the current provisional pole time.
Yeah, so to Giovinazzi as well. So to Kevin Estre and Fred Makavicki in the Porsches.
Oh, it's going to be closer because you see the times at the bottom of the screen with between the two Toyota drivers as Menezes crosses the line. He's not going to be on pole. And yeah, clap of the hands from Hartley's teammate. Buemi. This is going to be close between the two Toyotas. Kobayashi's had a monster middle sector. What's he got?
10th, 102.102 of a second quicker, Kobayashi. Can they go quicker again?
But Fuoco goes second. Ferrari goes second in the hands of Antonio Fuoco, the number 50 car.
17 thousandths away from pole position for Antonio Fuoco. Toyota were really rocked in Sebring that Ferrari outpaced them. They were not expecting that, and they admitted when we got to Portimao that they were spending much more time setting the cars up for qualifying, which they haven't really had to do for a couple of years.
It was a mistake this time around for Brendan Hartley in turn 1. I saw a big smoky lockup as we were focusing on Kamui Kobayashi. So Kobayashi now in sector 1, no, doesn't improve on his first sector. I thought he was going to, but none of them do actually. There are no fastest first sectors from anybody on this lap.
There is one sector, 2 now, that are up on the provisional pole time, 3. Antonio Giovinazzi, by the way, lost his previous lap to track limits in sector 2. That would have put him 4th from where he is currently in 5th, but there are quick first sector times coming.
Gustavo Menezes faster than he's been in the 94 Peugeot in sector 1 and 2. Harry Tinknell in the 99 Proton competition Porsche. That's faster than it's been in sector 1 as well.
Lap 5 for car 50, that is the current lap, I believe, is going to be deleted for cutting turn 4.
Right now, Olivier Pla is on to be within 26 thousandths of the fastest lap.
Very quick in that first sector, the Glickenhaus. Can it transfer that to full lap pace? At the moment, the top 9 cars separated by 8.5 tenths of a second.
Giovinazzi improves to go 5th. Gustavo Menezes 6th in the 94 car. Jean-Eric Verne losing time in the second sector. They've run out of tyres. Has anybody got time to go for another set?
5 minutes left in the session.
It's interesting, so on our graphics it's showing purple first sectors, but on our timing screens no purple sectors in that first sector at all.
What it's showing is the purple is showing it against the provisional pole time. Right. So it may not be ultimately the quickest, but it's quicker than Kobayashi's first sector. That's the issue there.
He made a mistake in that first sector.
So again, what we're seeing at the moment, Brendan Hartley is up on pole position pace in sector 1, but without setting even a better time for him in sector 1.
Makavicki's in the pit lane in the number 5 Penske Porsche. So has he broken for tyres?
Brendan Hartley moving out the way immediately on the exit of the second Lesmo to let the Ferrari go. He didn't want to give him a slipstream, more importantly, down towards this part here, the Ascari chicane.
Giovinazzi not as fast in the first sector as he has been in the 51 Ferrari, as Antonella Caletta.
Yeah, tyres dropping off here now.
Yeah,
definitely dropping off.
This is us done unless Penske Porsche, the number 5 car, Fred Mako, can pull something out of the fire, but he's going to need 2 laps to warm up, and there's not enough time left.
We're talking the previous session in LMP2, what a big gap 0.35 a second was between first and second. Well, 0.36 of a second is the top 5 here.
1:35.358 the pole time. Antonio Giovinazzi 6th as he comes across the line. He is not quicker, so he remains in 6th. And both Toyotas have pitted.
As has the 50 Ferrari.
Yep, I think that is it done. That was the final hurrah. So Toyota, Ferrari, Toyota, Peugeot, Cadillac, Ferrari, a mixed up grid. And Hertz Team Jota, who looked so comfortable in free practice 1 and 2, maybe not quite as up on their toes in qualifying. The Proton team, the car, they're running it for the first time in competition here, so not quite expecting them to necessarily be on the money. Takes a little time to learn these things, although Jota seemed to disprove that a little at Spa.
Yeah, some very different cars in this class, aren't they? That's the beauty of this hypercar rule set. But between the top Toyota, the top Ferrari, the top Peugeot, the top Cadillac, it is just over 3.5 tenths of a second.
Fastest first sector of anyone was Brendan Hartley in Toyota number 8. Fastest second sector was Kamui Kobayashi in Toyota number 7. Fastest third sector, Antonio Fuoco in the number 50 Ferrari. So those are the ways that the car make their speed, or the cars make their speed in different sectors in different ways.
Yeah, and if Kobayashi hadn't have locked up into that first chicane on the fastest lap of the session, imagine, yeah, he would have been a good 2/10 up on where he is currently. So that the rest of his lap was absolutely mega to outperform his teammate that completely nailed that first sector with a 30.4 in sector 1 compared to 30.549 for Kobayashi. So yeah, round of applause, totally justified. A brilliant second and third sector there for Kobayashi. Pulled him out of the doldrums, really, on that lap.
Amongst the Porsches, by the way, which have been reasonably quiet in this session, we'll talk about this car in a moment. Hertz Team Jota split the two Penske cars at the moment. Fred Bacco has gone back out, though. May get a lap in here.
He might get a quick lap in. It might move them up the order. Big smile on the face of Jean-Eric Verne as he has been congratulated by the Peugeot team. Is that their best qualifying result, 4th place?
You'd have to check. The other point, though, about Proton competition, they may only be 11th in this session. They haven't seen this car on track before this weekend. And to be 1.3 seconds off the, multiple world champions is quite some feat. So well done to Harry Tincknell.
Well, to be less than 2/10 off Kevin Estre in the Penske car that has been running all season, I mean, that's the benchmark, isn't it? It's not where Toyota is, it's where the other Porsches are.
They're half a tenth off the car that set pole last year.
Yeah. So
happier days at the moment for Toyota. There's not been many smiles since Le Mans.
Mike Conway and Jose Maria Lopez with Kamui Kobayashi
keeping an eye.
Fastest. That's going to make possibly make an important difference to the championship battle if they can continue through and take a win here.
It's a great shot, isn't it, right on board with Makawiki. He's just 2/10 down in the first sector, so I don't think it's going to be challenging pole position, but I love that onboard shot. You really get to see the driver working at the steering wheel there on this old school racetrack here in Monza. Very bumpy, narrow, got to play with the curbs as well to get the car balanced exactly how you want. But yeah, another really intriguing qualifying session there in Hypercar. Very closely spread, particularly the top 3. Separated by just over a tenth of a second.
Checker flag is out. 2 cars have taken it. Harry Tincknell in the Proton Porsche and Esteban Guerrieri in the Floyd Vanwall. 1 car remains to complete its lap. Billy Nomates, Fred Macco. Now, currently, this number 5 Porsche is 8th fastest. He is coming into the pits. Nothing there. That's sort of a shame because they came in for that second set of tyres maybe a lap too late, maybe 2 laps too late.
So interestingly, I think tyre wear is going to be very important tomorrow, which isn't usually the case here in Monza. But that degradation we saw there from those first couple of laps where the times were tumbling, purple sectors flying on the screens here, there and everywhere, and then suddenly it all stopped. It vanished, and that means that one thing, that they're going to have to be looking after them in the long race tomorrow.
And one of the things we noticed from the very first laps of this new class, or this new boosted class, much boosted class at Sebring, is these cars wear their tyres in very different ways.
Exactly. Look at this, Joe Venazzi looking on there, the time screen, thinking, where could I have found a bit more time? He sees Fuoco up there, splitting the two Toyotas, but Toyota, yeah, all smiles down there. That's what they wanted after Le Mans. They really hurt after that race. Yeah, but it's Kobayashi did the business when he needed to, almost threw it away in that first chicane with that lock-up. Without that, would have been quite a comfortable pole for him today.
Right, Louise Beckett down in the pit lane. She'll be taking shelter from the searing sun in the Toyota garage. Let's hear from her with Kamui Kobayashi, our pole sitter for the 6 Hours of Monza.
Kamui Kobayashi, well done on getting pole. I bet that felt good, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, lap time is very close, everyone. So actually, yes, I'm pretty happy. I think team did a great job. I think, you know, when you do the practice, obviously, lap time is so close, it's very difficult to find who's going to be strong. I mean, this time Peugeot looks strong as well. So I think, yeah, good start on the pole, and tomorrow is definitely more battle around.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Peugeot has looked very strong here, and if he's finding it hard to judge, and he's driving the cars and he's got access to all the data and what the engineers are looking at with everybody else, how the heck are we supposed to make sense of it? Look at that. 17 thousandths the front row is split by, 85 thousandths back to third, 2 tenths back to fourth, 58 thousandths, 51 thousandths, 9 thousandths. This isn't a competitive class at all, is it?
Well,
it's absolutely superb.
Well, that top 7, including both of the Peugeots, both of the Ferraris and both of the Toyotas, separated by 0.422 of a second.
1:37.253 was the best lap time for Peugeot in qualifying last year. They've done a 1:35.66, 1.6 seconds quicker than on their debut. And that's the difference they were hoping to make with a year of having run the car and returning to a track where they had knowledge of what it needed. And this is where they hopefully take the next step, a boost because of their performance at Le Mans, and now they're in territory that's not so unfamiliar with the car, and every time they run it, they're learning. I mean, we've seen from Toyota, even in free practice, they're learning how to adapt the car to the racetrack today and yesterday compared to last year. So this is all a movable feast.
The other thing to watch, by the way, from the finishing order, particularly in Hypercar, is you've got no team in the leading order that's able to control this pace without aggression at the start of this race, because they've not got a row to themselves. You've not got first and second for Toyota or Ferrari. They've got to actually, they're not going to rear gunner, if you like, if you've got one car that wants to play the hare to the tortoise. This is going to be a battle from the moment the lights go out tomorrow, and I can't wait for it. Yeah,
you've got to have, if you've got 2 cars, you've got 2 hares. If you've got 1 car, you've got 1 hare. You have to go flat out. There's no option. You will be limited, though, Anne Davidson, by what your tyres can do.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they're all in the same boat, though, with that situation. We saw it in qualifying as well. So, yeah, they're just going to have to manage it from inside the cockpit.
The new qualifying format once more at Monza, with each of our 3 categories separated. First out, GTE Am and the bronze-ranked drivers in each of the cars getting a chance to go head-to-head. The first driver ever in a World Championship event from the Dominican Republic. Third fastest, the 77 Dempsey Proton Porsche of Christian Reed. Second fastest was the Oman Racing Team by TF Aston Martin of Ahmed El Hati, our Spa pole sitter. But pole position in Monza, as last year, went to the Iron Dames and Sarah Bovey. Last year in a Ferrari, this in a Porsche. LMP2 cars out together as well. And all of them with the same Goodyear tyre, bearing the logos of 125 years ago when the Goodyear Tyre and Rubber Company was founded in Akron, Ohio. Third fastest for the number 22 United Auto Sports car, last year's pole sitters. 28 Jota ran them close, and they were within a few thousandths of pole position, but 41 from WRT. An outstanding lap from Robert Kubica to put himself head and shoulders clear of the field and take pole in LMP2. And then finally, the main course, the hypercars, and the anticipation of all the Ferrari fans of hopefully perhaps seeing the Le Mans winners putting their car on pole position. It was never going to be a given, and Toyota came out swinging. Number 7 car ended up in 3rd place. They did not manage to claim a front row. Toyota were not on pole on this race last year either. That went to Alpine. In 2nd place was the number 50 Ferrari, Antonio Fuoco, coming up 17,000 shy, because Toyota's qualifying king, Kamui Kobayashi, once more grabbed pole for the number 17. And there is a great sight to finish our broadcast. A host of historic alphas heading to the grids to go rorting and snorting their way around a scorching Monza. Don't forget, you can join us for all the action. We'll be on air 30 minutes before the start of tomorrow's race. So on behalf of everybody here, for Louise Beckett sweltering in the pit lane, for Graham Goodwin, for Anthony Davidson and the rest of the WC TV crew, Martin Haven saying thank you for being with us today. Join us tomorrow at 12:35 local time. We will be on air 12:35 Central European, I beg your pardon, 12 Central European, which is 10 Greenwich Mean Time, 11 if you're watching in the UK, Ireland, Portugal. Wherever you are across the world, enjoy the rest of your Saturday. We'll see you for the 6 hours of Monza. Can Ferrari come out on top? There's only one way to find out if the thousands of Tifosi will go home happy. Join us for all the action with your local broadcaster or on the WEC app. We'll see you then. Arrivederci.